It gave her a way to measure time, to feel its pressure. An ongoing reminder. A clock. The 18th project was at once a utopian vision, that plotted spectrum against the green grass, and a document of its failure. Fading and breakdown left in its wake. To see both the possibility and the aftermath offered a gratifying sense of control. What will you do when you run out of space? People often asked. That wasn't the threat. Their 2-acre yard cut into a patch of forest at the edge of the property. She could work on the project at the same rate for decades longer. The wood's decay cleared space for a return, and that promised room had always reassured her. Money was the real limitation. The question was whether she and Richard could afford to stay in the house now that Louise had lost her job and her pension. "What about the camera?" Richard asked. "One shot from the ladder, one from the roof," Louise said. "You know how to do it." He'd done it before, taken over for Louise when she was out of town. But it was unusual for her to go away without him. The two of them timed their trips around the project, camping on the coast, visiting their scraps of extended family. Some things were unavoidable, of course. Graduations, weddings, parents' weekends. Occasionally they fell on the 18th. Louise would ask their younger daughter, Margot, to set the next piece, or else a friend, if the whole family was away. "What if the pictures come out wrong?" Richard asked. Back when she'd first devised the project, an eroding line, Richard had been the one to suggest the photos in regular increments. She hadn't switched to digital photography, at least not for the strict confines of the project. Her simple rules made it easier to keep going. "You've always done it right," Louise said. Richard nodded. He knew exactly how to take the pictures, but knowing and wanting to be told were two different things. Louise would be taking 3 flights that day. The first leg was from Eugene to Las Vegas, and then the second would go on to New York, a city she'd never visited. The place where artists were supposed to go, the center of the market she eschewed. She was happy to make her work far from that inflated scene, and she tended to say this out loud so that Richard could hear her, because New York was also where Louise's ex-husband Dieter lived. But now Louise's daughter Elke was there too. Elke, who was 35, and the daughter of Dieter, not Richard, had moved to New York from the West Coast that year. Louise and Dieter had split up when Elke was a baby, and Louise had barely seen him since. For the 25 years Louise and Richard had been married, they'd maintained a tacit agreement that Louise wouldn't see Dieter any more than necessary, an understanding that would have seemed absurd, paranoid, extreme, if ever spoken aloud. Instead, this arrangement was enforced in the way they lived. Louise and Richard on the West Coast, Dieter on the East. Elke, the one to move between them. The envoy, the dual citizen, the constant reporter. But today New York would only be a layover. Louise knew that her ultimate destination vexed Richard even more. Elke was going to meet Louise in the airport, and together they'd fly to Germany, where Dieter's family still lived. It was in Düsseldorf that Louise had met Dieter. Düsseldorf was where Elke had been born. But Louise had left Dieter and Germany and art school in 1974. She'd never been back. Elke had called last week, though, asking her to return. "My grandmother died." The very first thing Elke had said, efficient in her delivery of this news, her professional mode. Elke was a corporate recruiter, or rather she had been until a month ago, when she was laid off from her job, the one she'd relocated to New York for. Sitting in the kitchen with the cordless, Louise had to study Elke's words. Her grandmother, Hannelore, Dieter's mother in Bad.